Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I'm going to deviate a little bit because I usually talk about fee for service, but today I'm going to talk about DPC, the pros, the cons, and what you need to know to be successful in DPC. All right, so you might say, Brad, what the hell do you know about DPC? Well, I know a little bit, all right? I don't own a DPC practice, but we do have a cash pay services on top of our traditional fee for service, what we do in our clinic. Not only that, but one of the docs that we hired had a DPC practice previously, couldn't make it successful. After an entire 2 years of trying to do a DPC practice, she had 7 members. I'm going to teach you guys where she went wrong, not because she's a bad person, but where she went wrong and how you can use that to decide if DPC is right for you and to make yourself super successful if you want to go DPC. All right, so first off, what is DPC? It's direct primary care. It's basically, you're not taking any insurance at all. You usually have a monthly fee that is tier-based on age that you're charging. You opt out of Medicare and there's no insurance that you're going through. The pros of that, you don't have to argue with insurance companies. You don't have to deal with the biller and all these other things behind the scenes. The cons is that you're gonna have to sell the hell out of this thing to a lot of people. And the other con is that you gotta have good boundaries. I'll get into that a little bit more. The other con with DPC is that if you wanna hyper growth it, it's gonna be very, very difficult to hyper growth a DPC practice. Not impossible, but it's gonna be a lot more difficult than a fee for service. Typical monthly fees that I see are anywhere from $50 to maybe $500 a month, but most of them are probably around $50 to $150 a month per person. Most people try to limit their panel to around 500. I would say 600 is on the high end, 250 is on the very low end, and those are people that are charging a lot of money per month. Usually have a very high net worth individuals of clients they're going after. I have said it many times in this vlog that I say DPC/concierge. They are two totally separate things. And for this one, I'm just talking about DPC. I'm not talking about concierge like MD VIP, where they take insurance still and then charge a fee to be on top of that, or where they're just a huge monthly, like $5,000 a month to truly be on call 24/7. Yeah, I'm not talking about that today. Why do physicians love the idea? It's easy to see. You get longer visits, more one-on-one time. You can spend more time actually counseling and talking with the patients, which is lovely. I mean, there's so many times I just want to sit there and hone in on someone's diet, lifestyle modifications. I can't do that. I can't do that in a 20-minute fee-for-service visit. But you know what? When they charge me $1,000, or when I charge them $1,000 an hour, hell yeah, I can sit there and talk and nerd out about this all day long. You get a higher level of connection this way. It also gives you steady cash flow. Once you have your panel set up, you basically guaranteed how much money you're going to have coming in every single month. The hidden traps of it, well, join the Facebook DPC group. Number one out of all the hidden traps, besides the fear of starting up the business, we'll just exclude that. The number one is boundaries, okay? The number of people that are commenting saying, what do you do when someone texts you while you're on a date night with your husband or wife and they want an answer absolutely right then and there? Setting boundaries. That's going to be one of the most difficult things that a lot of people struggle with. And I will say that where I'm at here in Austin, one of my good friends started up a DPC practice, closed it down. And, and I asked her, I said, hey, why? Why did you close it down? I thought you had a full panel. And she said, it got to a point where people were just texting me, I got a huge meeting this weekend. Do you mind if you call in some Adderall for me so I can make it through this presentations and all this hard work that I had to do? And oh, by the way, I'm going to need some Ambien to sleep because I'm up all day whenever I take the Adderall. She just said that it didn't feel good when people were constantly asking for all these things. Now, she was charging a huge premium. I think she was charging like $500 a month. But that's a huge negative as to why she burnt out with it. That's a huge boundary problem. You need to make sure that you have amazing boundaries. The second problem is the financials of it. I see a lot of you guys that are just so focused on just decreasing income. And it's hard to save your way to $100 million or even $10 million or $5 million. If you're thinking, $200 at a time, if you're worried between $900 and $1,100 for rent, the next one is a reality check about your panel size. Let's say you're charging $80 a month, you get 600 people. That's about what? $50,000 a month. Let's say $600,000 a year. It's actually less than that, but just for easy rounding, you're doing $600,000 a year. Sounds amazing, but you're gonna have credit card fees, you're gonna have systems, you're gonna have churn on top of that, you're gonna have overhead malpractice, you're going to have rent. And then until you get to that full panel, it's gonna take you at least 3 years to get to that full panel. Until you get there, you're gonna have to market that and market it like crazy. A good probably 40% of your budget is gonna go right back into marketing to get those clients through the door. Now, the exception to this is that if people know about you, if you have a huge following in your town, and everyone already knows you're an amazing primary care doc, yeah, you could flip that switch. Your marketing, this is not going to apply to you. You're going to make a ton of money right off the bat because everyone knows about you. You've already built up your own brand recognition. The other exception to this rule is, let's say you're somewhere, I'm going to just make it up, let's say you're in Oklahoma City and you're the only Vietnamese doctor in that area, and there's a huge Vietnamese population in a subset of Oklahoma City. I don't know, I'm making all this up. But if there's like a subset of an ethnic population where you have that connection to the community, where you're known in that Vietnamese community, yeah, you've already got brand awareness and you've got that cultural kind of brand recognition as well. DPC could work out extremely well for you in that scenario. Along with that, though, is going to be patient churn. If you're not in those two exceptions to the rules, you're going to have to market on average, somewhere around 9 people you're going to have to pitch before one of them just actually signs up for you. So you're going to have some sort of video or other pitch book on your website so that way you're not saying the same thing over and over and over again to potential clients. And then the churn comes with it. Let's just say you got 3% of your panel churns per year. You got to replace 18 new individuals. Well, your customer acquisition cost, you got to figure out, what is that going to be? How much am I going to spend on marketing? Usually you're going to spend over $100 per patient for customer acquisition costs for DPC, depending on your area. The lifetime value of that is way higher than $100, but you need to figure out, what is your churn? And you need to look at, what do you think your churn is going to be for your area? If it's over 15%, that's a huge churn. And the biggest, I would say, that I've saved for last with like the problem is a marketing problem. I have consulted with some of y'all, and there are some people, if you are not a people's person, you are not someone who can sell the heck out of yourself. I remember talking with someone who wanted to go DPC, and they were basically just like, I don't know why they would call me for an ear infection, like just go to a freaking urgent care for that. Yet that's not the mindset you need to have if you're going to be a DPC, provider. You're going to be taking everything over for them. You're going to want them to call you for absolutely any concern that you can handle. You're going to be like, hell yeah, call me up. I can handle that ear infection. If you can't sell yourself and you can't go out there and say why you're amazing, why you are a better brand than going to just your Joe Schmo that takes fee for service, you're going to have a hard time. You've got to sell yourself. Otherwise, no one's going to even know you exist. You're going to have to meet a lot of people, shake a lot of hands. You're going to have to almost be political with it, go to a lot of events. You're going to have to get your name out there. You may have to be part of the community. If you're religious, be a part of that religious community. If you're not, then somehow give back to your community in other ways. You're going to have to entrench yourself so that way people know you exist and you build that trust. Trust is extremely important when it comes to DPC. All right. So who is it for? You got a savings built up. You've got some savings and a runway, and you don't mind taking 1 or 2 years to get your panel full. You really value that more one-on-one engagement. And that's above anything. You'd rather take a pay cut for a few years to just be totally dedicated to your vision of delivering the best care that you see possible that insurance can't fulfill. You really value the relationship over the volume of patients you see. And the last one goes back to sales. You're comfortable with sales, marketing yourself, branding yourself as an expert in your community. Especially, like I said earlier, if you have an ethnic population that already you're entrenched in that area and there's a need there, amazing opportunity. All right, so how do you set it up? Well, it's pretty easy. Most of the time, you just hire a lawyer, file your PLLC or LLC in your state, get your standard operating procedures. There's wonderful DPC like Facebook groups and online. But then the next thing is make sure you have your brand recognition set up and ready to go. Make sure that you are going to funnel people into the upsells that you're going to sell them on whatever it is. It could be the whole family. It could be an entire business. Keep your overhead really low. You can, in the very beginning, it's going to be probably slow to build unless, like I said, you have a panel that's going to follow you. But if you're new to the community, it's going to be very slow to build in the beginning. You got to make sure you keep your financials in check, and you got to make sure that you keep your overhead very low. You got to be strategic about how you're going to grow. Don't add a bunch of freaking lasers and these $250,000 like aesthetic machines right off the bat. You got to offer value that can't be had in your area. In our area, it's almost impossible in certain areas to get next day or same day visits. Offer that. Go to businesses, and especially the super small businesses that maybe can't afford to have health insurance for their employees, pitch it to them. You got to, on average, pitch about 11 to 12 businesses to actually convert one to actually sign up for you. And you might be wondering, Brad, how do you know this? Well, there's a very large DPC clinic that accidentally put all of their stuff online of their entire investor relations And yeah, I could see exactly how much money they're spending and figure it out and work the math backwards that they have to pitch 11 businesses before one signs on. The other benefit with DPC is because of the big, beautiful bill, now the certain dollars, the HSA, FSA dollars, can be spent towards DPC care. DPC isn't magic, it's a business model, and it can work really well for you if your vision lines up with it, okay? You just have to figure out, does this fit with my vision? If you have a population, if they can afford it, you have the brand recognition, yeah, maybe it makes sense to switch over to DPC. And honestly, I'm even considering myself switching over to DPC because my time is valuable, because I already have a panel that has been following me for 6 years, and some of them probably will flip to say like, sure, I'll pay you a premium to keep seeing you. Before you make the switch, make sure you're ready financially, emotionally, and that you can sell the hell out of this thing. I believe we're going to continue to see an explosion of DPC in the future. However, we're also going to see an explosion of people that just didn't work out in DPC. And like I said, for the 2 people that I know personally that didn't work out, one of them, well, terrible boundaries. Okay, they ended up calling in the Adderall and all these other things for these people and then just burnt them out, right? Not a good idea. The other one, the doc that we took it over, yeah, terrible at sales. Just would not go out there and be grandiose and just sell themselves as like an expert in the community. That's why you have 7 people in your panel after 2 years. That's why they completely liquidated their 401k. Those that DPC is an amazing fit will do extremely well. Those where it may not be a good fit, yeah, it's not going to end well for you. And you need to make sure that you have the personality to go down the road of DPC. I'm excited to see what brings in the future for DPC community. I truly think that we're just going to continue to see an explosion of DPC in the future. It'll probably 2 to 3x in the next couple of years with this big, beautiful bill. What are your thoughts about DPC, the future of DPC? And are some of you guys already going down the pathway of DPC? I kind of know a few of you guys already are because I've consulted with you guys to help you out. But I'm curious, how many people are playing with the idea of going DPC versus fee for service? Leave a comment below. I'll see you guys next week. See y'all later.